I am joined by the Reform UK MP, Lee Anderson. So Keir Starmer has shown the first signs of action, if you want to call it that, on his small boats plan. We can take a little listen now to the moment that it was mentioned in the King's speech.
My government will seek to strengthen the border and make streets safer. A bill will be introduced to modernise the asylum and immigration system, establishing a new border security command and delivering enhanced counter-terror powers to tackle organised immigration crime.
OK, so Starmer's Border Security Command will treat smuggling gangs like terrorists and allow them to use security service intelligence to go after them. They will also be allowed to, now get ready people, this is radical, ramp up stop and search at the border, and new offences will be created for those advertising small boats crossings. Lee Anderson joins me now. Lee, I imagine it'll be really reassuring to everybody to know that if somebody arrives here illegally across the channel carrying a machete, a firearm and a load of drugs, that they'll be stopped and searched before they're put in a migrant hotel.
I tell you what, Patrick, the people smugglers in France must be quaking in their boots at the sight of Starmer and the rest of the front. But look, it's ridiculous, absolute nonsense. I mean, the Rwanda plan was bad enough. There's no deterrent at the moment. These people are going to come over in their thousands throughout the summer. They're going to be picked up in the channel. They're going to be ferried to the coast. They're then going to be taken to hotels. They're going to be processed, put through the broken asylum system, and 90% of them will have their asylum claims passed. They will never leave this country. Starmer is an absolute disgrace to this country. And I tell you what, Patrick, what does he actually mean when he says he's going to smash the gangs? It's pathetic.
Well, they're saying, you know, these new counter-terror laws, they're going to go after the criminal gangs throughout Europe and that will have a big impact. Of course, unfortunately for Sir Keir Starmer, one of the major elements of that is closer ties with our European friends. And Ursula von der Leyen has snubbed him at the first possible opportunity recently. So it doesn't look as though that's going to happen anytime soon. But Lee, the other aspect of this that nobody seems to be talking about is that if people continue to come across the channel, which they are, and we are now allowing them all to claim asylum, which we are, and a load of those will be granted asylum, then they're going to have to live somewhere. And Labour are talking about shutting down the migrant hotels, which does beg the question, Lee, is all of this new social housing that they're talking about going to be full of illegal immigrants?
Well, listen, Patrick, I mean, I think you're a newly married man. You've probably got a couple of bedrooms spare in your house or apartment. No. I don't know where you live at the moment. The good news is that you can put some of these migrants up in your house. It's ridiculous. You know, we've seen in the parks throughout, not just this country, Patrick, but in Northern Ireland as well. These camps are setting up, these tent cities are going to be set up all over the country at the moment. It's frightening. It's scary. We do not know who we are allowing in this country at the moment. It is absolutely shocking. You know what? The Tory party was bad enough, but the Labour Party are going to open the borders, they're going to welcome them in, and they'll be living absolutely everywhere. All
right. Well, what I will say is, you know, Reform stood on a ticket of we are going to be the opposition. We're going to lead a people's revolt. Well, we've heard the King's speech today. We know what Keir Starmer's doing. What are Reform going to do to stop this, then?
Well, listen, Patrick, there's 5 of us, but we have more influence and more fight and more heart in our bodies than the rest of the 200 on the opposition benches. It's ridiculous. Seriously, Patrick, you know, for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been banging on about the illegal migrants, legal migration. Finally, the country's waking up. We look at the Labour Party, Patrick, at the moment. Keir Starmer is the least popular Labour leader of all time, even Jeremy Corbyn.
Right, fine, but what is the plan now then, Lee? No, seriously, go on, because what is the plan now? You've got Labour's, but the Tories are in disarray, so a lot of people watching this now are going to be thinking, well, you know, maybe they voted for Nigel, maybe they voted for you, and they think, right, come on, we need to see Reform standing there on those benches, giving it to Labour on this. So what are you going to be saying? Just turn the votes back?
Patrick, you're being ridiculous. We've only been here a week. We've got 4.1 million voters behind us. There's probably another couple of million voters that wanted to vote for us. You're being ridiculous. We are the People's Army. We're going to march forward and represent the silent majority in this country. I tell you what, you lot on GB News better watch out.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, OK. I suppose from what I'm taking from that is that the reform policy remains the same, which is you would turn the boats back and maybe you'd try and make that case to Keir Starmer. But, Lee, I know that you care deeply about your constituency. I've been to do an entire show from your constituency in Ashfield. I do wonder, though, Lee, whether or not the same can be said for Nigel Farage, right? He's announced he's flying out to America this week to support his mate Donald Trump. But, Lee, you know, there are starting to be increased noises, especially on social media, about whether or not he's going to be spending that much time in Clacton. Do you think he will? Do you think he should?
Patrick, you're talking nonsense again. I tell you what, Patrick, you're a great presenter. I think you need to go and get a job on LBC because that's where it's going with this nonsense. Patrick is going to be a great representative of Clacton. He's going to be a great leader in the House of Parliament. I tell you what, Nigel Farage is exactly what this country needs at the moment, and he is a phenomenon. So, listen, Patrick, I've heard there's some vacancies at LBC. You're a close rival for James O'Brien. You need to get your head over there, and I'll come and see you next week.
I think with respect, Lee, you've accused me of being ridiculous a couple of times. It's possibly a bit more ridiculous to say that I am similar to James O'Brien. But finally, Lee, look, your former colleague Priti Patel, she's thrown her hat into the ring now to be the next Conservative leader. This is actually how former Tory MP Miriam Cates reacted to that last night on this show.
Straight talking, she's very energetic, she's got an amazing smile, she's got lots of friends in Parliament, but as I said, I'm not going to come down in favour on any particular candidate. But
yeah, I wonder whether or not Priti Patel might burst reform's bubble a little bit. I mean, she's quite aligned, isn't she, really, to what you guys stand for? How do you see that go?
I think so, Patrick. I'm not sure an amazing smile is quite going to cut it. I think, the Tory party, they need to choose the correct leader. I suspect they won't. I think they'll probably choose somebody like Tom Tugendhat, who actually would be a dream ticket for me. I tell you what, if they choose Tom or somebody like that, one of the wets in the Tory party, I'm going to order that new extension on my house.
You're going to what, sorry?
Order that new extension on my house. I'll be quizzing.
Oh, right, OK, all right. Why do you hate Tom Tugendhat?
I don't hate Tom. I get on really, really well with Tom. He's a good man, but he's a Liberal. He's a Liberal, Patrick. He's a wet. He's everything that's wrong with the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party, right from number 10 a few months back, right through to CCHQ, need to get a grip. They've not been conservative. The country is crying out for a centre-right party, and the Conservative Party at the moment have not been that. But
I get that, but I suppose it does beg the question, if they do decide to go for Priti Patel, then that is probably a problem for reform, right?
Not really. I love Priti. She's a good friend of mine, but, look at Priti's track record, why she's been in government. What is it?
OK. The last thing I'll just ask you, Ali, is if Suella Braverman gets shunned by her own MPs here, if she decides she wants to run for the leadership or whatever, or she gets ostracised a bit for some of her comments in the Tory party. You went through something quite similar. You made your comments about Sadiq Khan, etc. You ended up going for reform. You won at the election. So, credit to you. Do you think there's a place in reform for Suella Braverman?
Listen, Suella Braverman is a good friend of mine. She ticks all my boxes and probably all the boxes of Reform UK. I suspect, Patrick, she's going to go at some stage for the leadership of the Conservative Party. I would love to have her on board with the Reform UK Party.
OK. All right, so the door's open, I take it.
It's wide open.
Interesting. All right, Lee, thank you very much, and great to have you on the show. I'll see you soon. It's Reform UK MP Lee Anderson.